670 people watching.
Really?
Okay, good morning.
Are you
This
kidding me?
is the call the meeting to order. This is the special session today for the COVID. And then we have one other item on the agenda. First, we'll start off this morning. Getting an approval agenda. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add to the agenda?
If there's nothing else to add, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval of the agenda. I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, motion carries. Let's cover the minutes for the April 20th meeting while we're here.
I'll make a motion to approve the April 20th meeting minutes.
I would second that. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the minutes for the April say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, first thing on the agenda is emergency management COVID-19 discussion. I'm going to turn it over to Sarah.
Okay, so two things I'm going to talk about today is the test Iowa and the PPE again. So we had a conference call on Monday, and there are several people in our county, with us still only being at one case 4 weeks ago, that are questioning why they need to fill out the test Iowa if they have no symptoms. So we had quite a few people that filled it out just to see what the questions were. I don't know if anybody in here filled it out. I know Carrie Kersey filled it
I
out.
did.
Rich said he filled it out. You can basically get through the whole thing and say that you have no symptoms, and they send you, did they tell you?
There's no
Need for a test. Yes.
No need for a test and no need for an appointment.
So the infection control nurse, Jill Arp, filled it out down in Manning. She had no for all of the answers as well, but then it told her, since her career was nurse at the hospital, that she was eligible to get a test. So we just wanted more clarification on that. Like if, let's say 10,000 people in Carroll fill that out, and everyone except the healthcare workers get they're not eligible for the test, versus they are eligible for the test, but just healthcare workers wise, if that helps open our cause to open up, or I guess there's been a lot of questions about, will we be removed from the regional RMCC group that we're in to potentially open up. So they talked about that, and they stated that the economic development directors are meeting with the governor, just like public health would meet, just like everybody else would meet. And if it comes to the point of opening up certain areas or certain regions, it will not necessarily be based on those RMCCs. So I thought that that was positive information that I heard in the conference call, that there is a strong push by the economic developers to get portions of Iowa or certain counties back open to keep the economy going. So they're still wanting everybody to fill out that test. They did say that, or the assessment I should call it, they did say that they're currently not using all of the people that it would give that answer to make that decision to open up certain counties or not, that it was going to be heavily driven based on these economic development directors over the test Iowa assessment results, if that makes sense. But they still want everybody to do it. Seems, I don't know. I don't know what my opinions are on that, because you've already had 80,000 people do it. If you develop symptoms in 2 days, then you can do it again. So then does that one kind of replace your other one? Or now is it 80,001 and you're in there twice? So, because it'd be interesting to see if 3 million people did it, or if it's gonna be like there's 6 million assessments because everybody did it twice. So I wish that the state had a little bit more guidance on that, because the message is spread the word, crush the curve, everyone fill out the assessment. But so many people are confused because why fill out the assessment if you have no symptoms? And you haven't been around anybody, and we have no cases here in Iowa. So just hopefully she gives us more guidance to that, but that's all that we were given on Monday. There was new guidance also in that conference call about the PPE. So several people were running into what I'm running into. The disposable gowns is the biggest thing still. They're normally pre-pandemic 35 to 50 cents a piece. So it's really hard to purchase a disposable gown when it's $10. So we have not made any sort of purchase like that. We found some that were $4. We have not pulled the trigger on even buying a disposable gown that you're gonna wear one time inside a patient's room, come out of that patient's room, take off that gown and throw it away for $4. So I did request more gowns from the state, and I did receive 400 disposable gowns on Sunday. The National Guard came. When the governor talked and when we had our talk on Monday, they stated that they felt like they were going to start getting more and more gowns in. Public Health received $11,000 additional grant money on our coalition emergency preparedness hospital coalition grant. And so between her, Carrie, and I, we decided that we were going to buy the goggles or the safety goggles over the face shields. We put the face shields on for about 15 minutes and they fog up so bad. So the guidance is wear these masks and wear these face shields over it. And if you put on a disposable gown, Megan Owen was down in the basement with us, disposable gown, face mask, face shield, it gets hot and uncomfortable in a hurry. So we're still gonna keep spreading the message that obviously the hospitals, and like if a public health nurse is going to go and swab somebody, they're going to take the proper protocol, use the disposable gown, use potentially the face mask, use what they would want. But to have somebody wear that all day long seems, all of our long-term care, all of those type, the in-home group homes, to have somebody wear that all day long. Megan didn't even think her aides could handle wearing that get up all day long. So we decided to spend our money on the safety glasses and try to get everybody those. And then we would keep the face shields, still hand them out so everybody has them in case they would have, because we're up to 500 face shields, but not recommend, I guess, using those unless they see activity. So, do your people use the face shields, safety goggles,
If you use
glasses?
Safety goggles. If they use the face shield, when they're done,
Yep.
the UV light and put it back in service.
So is that just something that comes with the face shield as they fog up? Because you're breathing on this.
My source tells me that after about an hour,
Mhm,
you've had enough of it, and you got 7 more hours in your shift.
mhm.
I haven't got to try this yet, but I was reading online where they say safety goggles and face shields, you spray them with shaving cream, wipe it all around and let it air dry and it won't fog up.
Huh.
I don't know if that's true or not, but
I did read that too. I don't know if it's true or not either.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask about that.
I have a couple things real quick. One, I get the fact that they want to reopen some certain counties that are low risk, but the problem with that is they're going to advertise it, and you're going to have a lot of people from unsafe areas travel here because we're open.
Well, Dickinson County was on the call, and I believe they were at 1 case, but they're up to 3 yesterday. So they increased by 2 in 3 days. He said that they're seeing a ton of people up at Okoboji already. The traffic is up, the people are up, because I think that people saw on the map that they only had 1 case. we don't get to make the decision if they open. It sounded like economic development directors are working on their own task force, let's say, to decide what they're gonna do. So,
And I don't believe that we want a martial law state either. where we
No,
stop people from
absolutely
doing
not.
that. But
I think a lot of people thought if they filled out that Test Iowa assessment and they saw all these people in Carroll County didn't need
Right.
tests, but she said they're only pulling out the data for the people who do need the test. But Jill, being in Manning, with no symptoms and just being a healthcare worker, she was still not scheduled for a test yet. So, and there's a lot still to learn about that, because they said that they had the testing capacity of 3,000 per day. However, they had 250 appointments for Saturday, and the people were getting the message that it was full. So,
I think as soon as testing facilities, getting them ramped up to do that.
yeah.
Maybe it's a trick too.
So I don't know if Saturday was meant to, I mean, 80,000 people sent it. I don't know how many of those needed tests, but they have 250 people scheduled for tests on Saturday. And Jill said she wasn't gonna drive to Des Moines for a test. So it's basically that system is allowing anybody, they can say no to everything. But if you're a healthcare worker, or if you, let's say Ken had,
I think law enforcement.
yep, had been exposed, or, yep,
Or have the capability.
yes. So,
That's the way I understood it too. But I didn't, I thought that the numbers were gonna be used for, they're gonna look at Carroll County, look from all the results, and they're gonna say, there's less than 1/2 of 1/10 of 1%.
mhm.
So we probably could start phasing them in. They're probably
Yeah.
eligible to look at that. But I figured that's what that knowledge was for, but.
As of right now, no, they are only pulling out the need to test people. So.
Question.
Go ahead.
I have a question, Sarah. If the economic director makes that call from each county, would Shannon make the call, or her board, or who would make that decision for Carroll County?
She said that there was a task force, a strike team of economic development leaders that were meeting around the state, because if they were saying the complexity of Lynn County and Johnson County are in 2 different regions. So the one is in the region 10 and the other one was in the region 9. They would not say, oh, region 4 can open, but region 3 cannot open, because they're literally intertwined, Cedar Rapids and Iowa City. So you're not going to open the north half and not the south half. So they said that they're looking at the economies that each county may provide, and then the surrounding. So if Carroll is a regional hub to the surrounding counties, they might be looking at it as a economic group of counties.
Okay,
Well, I, for one, personally, I hope that does not happen, because I don't want someone that's more concerned about economics to influence our disaster that we may have because of it. I think there's a lot more players than someone that says, and am I for getting businesses open? Yes, I am. But I'm also for not overwhelming our facilities that we have. So I have a little concern about, like, an economic development people make that decision.
Mhm. So I don't know who it would be for us. That was just brought up in the conversation, that they were not using the Test Iowa results. They were working with the economic development leaders to come up with those plans.
Well,
One other group,
When did you hear about this economic development thing? Because I just talked to Shannon the last couple of days, and she has not even suggested anything like that to me, that they were even involved in this.
on Monday.
One thing that she told me, she said she was surprised when you drive downtown in Carroll, that looking at the license plate, who's in town. It's all people from outside the county. So, but But she never mentioned anything to me about it, so.
Yeah, so they had mentioned that on Monday when we asked what the Test Iowa, because there were several people asking that, if you get everyone in your county to fill that out, does that increase your chances of opening up sooner? And they said, absolutely not. The opening up is being discussed with the economic development leaders, so. And I mean, they might be starting, Gene, with the bigger county. They might, having a Zoom meeting with 10 of the bigger counties. I don't know who picked that. That's just what we were told.
Well, and I could believe that it's probably bigger players than what we're involved with.
Yeah, because they brought up the Lynn and Johnston County scenario that they would not allow one to open, but not the other. They would have to open simultaneously together. Yeah.
If you get more information on that, could you include it with your daily updates, Sarah? I'd
Yeah.
appreciate it.
So another group that reached out to me was the funeral home directors. So there's the guidance that says of groups of 10 or less. So it was up to a funeral home if they wanted to allow like 10 people in at a time for a wake. And I know that some funeral homes were doing that and then sanitizing in between, and other funeral homes were limiting the wake service to just the immediate family. So there was a situation in which there was a funeral in Carroll County and they followed all of the rules, and they did allow cars to attend the funeral, but they had everybody stay in their car, but they were still at the funeral with the family. And then there was a funeral a couple days later, and then the funeral home had also said that they limited it to the 10 people at the gravesite. It was the immediate family, the funeral people, the one person for the military honors, and then their group at the gravesite was 10. So it was a neighboring county that had a funeral, and they had over 150 people in attendance. They let everybody drive in the cars, then they let people stand outside the car, and then they had 12 military honors. They were scattered, and then they had the 10 people at the site. So then they had like 22 people. So then this family was upset because their family was limited, and this other family got a much bigger funeral and they let the people outside. So the funeral home director said that they had a meeting within their funeral directors association that said that they needed to consult the emergency management coordinator, and whatever decision that I came up with for them would be how we were going to allow funerals in
Thank you for that.
each county. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting, because I had not gotten that email that I was now to reach out and make the decision on how we were going to have cemetery
I have
services
a
and
question
that.
about that. Our office gets a lot of calls, I guess, probably just because people think we're open. And the other day I got one, they had a blood drive yesterday out at Central Church, the Red Cross. And they called ahead of time and said, we're having a blood drive, which I think is important. And I told them I was planning on going out and giving blood. I just kind of went through their protocols with them. Everybody had to have a mask on. The benches were all spread out by appointment only, so they staggered people. And I had no problem with that. I mean, of course, they're healthcare professionals. They took every precaution necessary. And I think it's essential that we have a blood supply. So are you guys fine with me making that call on something like that? Or should it go through you? Or should it go through Sarah at the hospital? Or
I think if we, like you said, they have the mask, they have the spacing, they have the by appointment only. I'm fine with that.
If you two are speaking from the same page,
Yep.
I have no problem with it. No
I mean,
sense of dumping it on one person.
I just hate to pass the buck on
Yeah.
something that's.
Yes.
That's the only thing I would say. That way we are consistent.
Yeah. So then the funeral home director would really like to do funerals like this other county did. And he said they would absolutely follow the rules. They would space out the cars. They would have it say immediate family only. You can stand outside of your car, by your car only. And then, because he said the weather's going to be nicer. So I guess
It's harder to pull back on the reins now because it's getting nice
I had put that email out saying, did anybody else hear that the funeral arrangements and cemetery, how they basically want to do things at the cemetery? I don't think you can really change the wake services, but at the cemeteries, if we're gonna start allowing,
That sounded like a decent plan. I didn't see too many problems with it. It was pretty good thinking, I thought. on that
So-
person.
because he's got an immediate family one coming up and there's, or a bigger family one, and there's 40 people just in the immediate family. So then how do you choose which 10? But if they could go and at least get out of their car,
Would you classify them as individuals or same household?
well, I think within, because you drove to the funeral with those 4 people in your
If
car.
that's your same
Yeah.
household, that should maybe be counted as one in that
Yes,
situation instead of 4.
yeah, still keep each family in their car. Don't, you're my brother, hop in with me, try to keep each family that you're living with on a day-to-day basis and breathing in the same air, but I don't know. So I feel like that's gonna, it's that, well, I saw this funeral online and they did that, and then there, I can see where he's coming from because he wants it to be on a even playing field, I guess, and he said there is no consistency to how they're doing cemetery services, and their association said to reach out to your county emergency management person and have them decide.
That and if we require masks, because we're just burning through masks, and I'm not saying that's wrong, I'm just saying we got to factor that we're going to be burning up a lot of inventory.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming a lot of people are buying the homemade ones because Graphic Edge is up to 300,000. So
He was worried about buying 12. I can't wait till I see that.
yeah, so he said that there are schools already pre-ordering masks for their students with the school logos on them for the fall.
Now, they can rotate those and launder them and keep bringing them
Yep,
back.
they're the washable ones. Ours came in yesterday, so I'll work with Courtney to get them distributed, so. I don't know.
Okay.
So everybody okay with the guidance on the funerals? Thoughts?
There's,
So what is your guidance then? Just go ahead and review it again, Sarah. What you're-
Everyone kind of walked on each other. Dean, we got that one. Go ahead, answer Dean.
So they could, you would keep the 10 people or less at the funeral home, and some of the wake services, they're limiting to, like, they don't want the people coming in. It's, some funeral homes have said it's just way too hard to sanitize in between. So they're just saying, we're gonna really restrict the wake service to that immediate family only. And even if they would have 10 people at a time, they would still, let's say that family of 40, they would have the wake service only for that immediate family, but still 10 would go in, they would sanitize between that 10, and they would do that only 4 times. You would not open that up to having the general public still go to a wake service, but 10 at a time, people stand on the sidewalks. So our funeral homes are both in agreement that they are trying to keep the wake services to immediate family only, and only 10 people at a time inside the building, sanitize in between. So this would be the cemetery service. So if there's still several people that want to show up for the family, so let's say there would be, I don't know, 60, 70 cars of people. I don't know what an average cemetery service is, but they would give guidance to the families. You need to park your car, you can get outside your car, but like Rich said, your immediate household of family members per car. So the request is to let them stand outside of their car, outside at the cemetery service. Because they had previously been doing it that the people could be there, but they had to stay in their car. And then you'd still only have the 10 people up at the gravesite. But if he had more military honor people, like if that is treated separate, but then he would spread those people out too, in order to be able to do the military, keep that under 10, and then spread those 10 people out, and then have your 10, so.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm okay with that. The only thing that I see where there's gonna be a problem is that you're gonna have a car pull up and 4 people are gonna get out. So those 4 people basically having social distance, and I think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, and the hard part's gonna be if those 4 people have been living in the same house, they're probably okay with each other, but if they're 4 different people, 2 different people and 2 different people, I'll just ride with you, then now you're right back to where we started, so.
But that's the guidance that we would have to give out, and they're still saying you can get together in groups of 10 or less. They have not put us in the household
Right.
number 10 designation for the RMCC. So, I mean, if I have 6 people and my parents are 2, they haven't told me I can't see my parents yet.
Neil Bach, and I think the spread of COVID is less likely to happen outside than inside, like inside the funeral home. So that's one thing to consider as well.
What did he say first? He froze.
You're cutting in and out, Neil. You're froze up now. His internet's really struggling. Hey, Gene, go ahead.
I can see where this is a problem, especially with larger families. And I have no problem the way you're suggesting doing this, Sarah. I think it kind of takes care of that. But I have seen, and this was locally here, where a funeral home did have public viewing of the body, and the family was not there. Now, I don't know how they handled it, but I did see that in a notice.
How about I call Jay Woodhouse? I think he is president or past president of the Iowa Funeral Home. What?
He's the one who called me.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Neil, you're back now. You
So
want to
he
ask your
just
question
wants
again?
permission to be able to do
Yeah,
it.
I was just gonna say that the spread of COVID is less likely to happen outside than inside, for example, inside a funeral home base, compared to outside at a cemetery.
The guidelines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
I'm okay with it if you set those guidelines about, limiting people to families that are going to attend in the car. Otherwise we're just throwing 4 people in a car and going to the funeral. I don't know if that's the right thing to do either. So as long as the guidelines are spelled out.
And I think so many people are still following the social distancing, and if they, know really not to go to the wake, and then they really push that, but then you allow people in support of the family to just be in that trail of cars, it will kind of help that wake situation.
Right.
So, because I do feel like people think if somebody, especially somebody prevalent in the community, or someone, let's say somebody younger or somebody, there's going to be those people that want to support that family. So.
Okay, well, it sounds like you've got the plan that you talked about is pretty viable.
Yeah.
We just touch base with them.
Yep, and then we'll just have them be on the
Kinda
same
go
page.
a little back and forth, make sure everybody gets on the same.
Yep, but this is the guidance from the county.
Okay,
But besides those, that's what the 3 that I was working on.
okay, those are the 3 bigger topics. Ken, did you have anything you want to put in on this?
No, not really.
Daryl, how's your crew doing? Good?
They're doing good. They're
Staying healthy?
precautions,
Okay,
doing as good as they can be.
okay. You guys got any questions for anybody here? You want to go first? You guys got anything you want to add or talk about? All righty. Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, Carroll.
Good luck with the watershed.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Daryl.
Carroll,
You're welcome.
just a second,
I
Sarah.
can.
One second. Dalton, was there any questions offline? Nothing. Nothing personal. Very good.
140 viewers.
All right, very good.
Got you worried, isn't it?
All right, now we're gonna jump over to the next item on the agenda, which was the watershed. No. Sarah. I believe that's what was next. Yeah, the watershed. So, Dean, you wanna report what you did find out, if you found out anything?
Well, I gave Clarence Sipker a call right away, and if you go through the material in that email, you'll see that the lower part, basically Polk and Dallas County have formed what is called the North Raccoon Water Management Coalition, Alliance. And so the WMA is that we're involved in is the North Raccoon Watershed Management Coalition. So there's two different entities that we're talking about. The Dallas and Polk County one is just basically all of Polk County and part of Dallas County. And those are the people that are involved in that. And it's the Des Moines Waterworks that's really basically driving that alliance. So the concern is that they're going to flex undue pressure on an influence on the coalition. So that is what basically the concern is about, which I think is valid. I don't know if that was really the intent. I really look back at this and some of the players that were there originally. It really kind of, as I look back, I can see why Dallas and Polk County were pressing so hard for things. And I guess it kind of stands to reason today. Basically the dollars that are going into this are basically up in Buena Vista and Pocahontas County. I mean, that's where the work is going to be done. And so I don't know why, when I look back, I guess I don't know why Dallas and Polk County really wanted to press and be a part of this. So obviously what happens up in the beginning of the watershed, the head end, it does make a difference to the bottom of the watershed. So I get that, but it appears that they are now flexing a little bit more authority on what happens in the watershed. So
you get the feeling from him that they were leaning more towards the water quality rather than the quantity, which that's kind of what the watershed was started for, was more quantity side was, and which the benefit is also quality, but the lean was on the quantity to slow it down, get it filtered, and then send it on.
Yeah, the Watershed Management Authority was basically for flood control. I mean, that's where the money was coming from. The money was coming from HUD through FEMA, and it was dollars that weren't spent back in 2010. So for flood control. So is basically what it was for. But at the same time, and this is the same way it is in the east-west Nishnabotna and up in the North Raccoon, is to, while you're concentrating on flood, let's put a little bit of emphasis on water quality as well. And so you can do both things, but I think that really, basically, I think that the North Raccoon Water Management Coalition in Dallas and Polk County just wanted to influence too much what was going on. So I'll tell you what, the whole Watershed Alliance is struggling. I mean, we were supposed to have a meeting tomorrow. I have seen nothing on it. We're supposed to approve a plan. I have not seen the plan, nor has Clarence Sipker from Pocahontas. He's been more involved in this whole thing simply because they're getting money to do projects, and he's not happy. They're considering not even taking any money because it's being concentrated on increasing the size of a water body that will involve taking ground from too many farmers. And so it's like they're saying, well, this isn't what, the farmers really want. This isn't really it will improve flood control, but they can't get the buy-in from the farmers to do this. So it's, unlike the east-west Nishnabotna, who is, I mean, they've done extraordinary things and are moving along very well. The North Raccoon is struggling. They have been struggling from the beginning. And so as far as this document that Pocahontas County, he said that they think they almost have all the counties involved willing to sign this resolution with the exception of the lower counties of the watershed, and that would be Dallas and Polk. So Boone is somewhat involved, Boone County, but it's unclear what they're going to do. So I don't have any problem.
Would you recommend we go ahead and pass that resolution?
Yeah, I'll do some more work on it. I'll see what's going to happen here tomorrow.
Okay.
And then I'll make a recommendation on Monday.
We'll just we can move forward for it for Monday, and then if you see something you don't like, you can tell Courtney to not put it on the agenda.
Well, let's put it on the agenda for discussion, and then we'll just decide at that point in time whether or not we want to sign it or not.
Okay.
Dean, were they wanting this done by today though?
No, he said there was really no
hurry.
There's no hurry. I mean,
there was a
this
thing
thing is
just to get people to move along, I think, probably.
Yeah. And there's this water, like I said, this watershed management authority is struggling, and they're by no means pressing to get anything done. So
Have you talked to Mark Hansen at all? Mark Hansen out of Dallas. I mean, usually we get a notice from him about the meeting, and usually they have it out there. I haven't seen anything about that.
Yeah, there hasn't been anything, and I'm going to hold my comments about some of that simply because, I don't know.
There's a lot of extenuating circumstances there.
Yeah, I think there was some things going on there, and I'm only speculating, I guess, but I think we want to be a little bit careful, and I think Pocahontas and that board of supervisors is being cautious and bringing something to light that probably is a pretty good deal. I think they're
okay. We'll just leave it at that.
Anybody have any comments on that?
No, I just, it really kind of blindsided me when I seen it, like, where did this come from and how did this get so, and now after you just explained it, that makes sense, that they're kind of trying to run their own separate. It looks like they're trying to cut everything off for money for themselves again.
Well, I think they want to make sure that what happens with this watershed management alliance is in the same thinking as the watershed management coalition. So.
Okay. Okay. Very good. We'll
That's all I really have.
Anybody else got any more questions? Steph or Neil? Neil, you're muted yet.
I was just telling Dean to keep up the good work, and the research is very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody got anything special for Monday's agenda? I think
Courtney, did you get my email about Rolling Hills?
Yes.
Chris Whitaker, I did talk to him. He said he'd jump on the Zoom meeting and Dalton will add him in. And he said, it won't take him long to explain it. He'll keep the condensed version down.
Courtney, with my item on Rolling Hills, maybe you could send all the information out to all the board members so that they would know ahead before the discussion starts, what it's all about. Thank you.
You would like to add to the agenda?
I have tax abatements and it is bill day.
Okay. It's a bill day. You'll have to do a lot of squeezing on your iPad so you can see it, but yeah, there's a bill day. And how you doing with this election?
I think I've secured a polling place and working on sending letters out to poll workers.
Willing to work. And the idea of the younger people might be a good blend at least. Okay. I hate to go to one place, but I also understand we're in a different time than we are.
And since we're in a public meeting, I encourage people to vote by mail.
Vote by mail, yeah.
Rich, are we having a meeting tomorrow? Are we considering this or?
I think we're gonna consider this. I didn't hear anything or had anything to do.
Okay.
Okay, so there will be no meeting tomorrow.
So Rich, is Chris expecting action on that?
On that housing?
Yeah.
No, he just wants to get a big explanation about it. And the brief part of it is, in order for a community to do a project, they need 5 homes. Some of these, like, let's say Litterdale would have 1. They can join in with Halbert that has 1. And maybe Coon that has 1. Then we can get to 5 and the county can do it. And then all we have is some publishing things to take care of. But it lets the little communities to get in the game without having to do 5 houses itself. Because that's kind of a financial burden to some of the communities. So he got a good explanation for us.
Okay.
All right. I guess we don't have anything else going on. I take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
Second, third, you pick them. All right, all those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Have a
See you
good
guys.
weekend, everyone. Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe.
You
See
too.
ya.
Everyone have a good weekend.